get this in the right position. Okay. Hey everyone, nice to meet you. My name is Craig Alleva, and I am the Director of Customer Engineering for Google Cloud in Canada. And in my role, I have the privilege of being able to meet organizations across the country and help them transform and modernize the way they operate using cloud. So today what I'm here to talk about is how the impact of artificial intelligence is having on businesses, really how they're looking at applying it, and I'm going to share a few use cases and stories. But before I do that, I just want to take a step back, because just talking to people in the room here and there, I get the sense people feel wow, this stuff is moving at rapid pace. It's very quick, it's new. The reality is, AI has been around for a very long time. Many of you use it without knowing it. I would assume everyone here has a smartphone, and they might have navigated, I navigated my way here today using it. That's AI-driven technology. If you watch Netflix and you fire that up, all those recommendations that you see, that is AI-driven. And so it's already in our life, and what we're seeing right now, though, what we're witnessing, is one of the most significant shifts in technological history with generative AI. And this is actually quite an unprecedented, groundbreaking technology. It's one of the biggest shifts in history. And it's going to transform the way that we interact with information, and it's going to transform the way we interact with each other and with organizations and businesses. I think, like many of you, I've lived through many technological shifts and in history, and you think of the internet, think of mobile, think of cloud, think of AI. These are monumental changes in tech. And what unites all of them under the hood, and the stories that unite them all, is the value that these technologies ultimately end up unleashing. If you think for businesses today, when we speak to businesses, they're now looking at this technology themselves, and they're thinking about, well, how do I apply this technology that I'm hearing about? And they're looking at 5 dimensions that they're trying to accomplish and solve for. One is, how do I understand my customers better? How do I engage them better? They're trying to understand, how do I attract talent to my organization and stay here? They're looking at how to optimize the way they run, and they're looking at how to connect and collaborate better and innovate better. Ultimately, of course, they want to drive profitability and efficiencies. In Canada, with this specific technology, I think last year, when we spoke to organizations, the top question we would get on generative AI would be things like, what is it? What is this technology I'm hearing about? In the span of 4 months or so in the beginning of this year, that has rapidly shifted to, how do I get started as quickly as possible, and where should I begin? Right? These are the sorts of questions we're hearing. So let me just share a few examples of how people are using it. You heard some great ones today, but I'll share a couple others. So you probably know the international fast food chain Wendy's. I have, you can tell. And if you think of Wendy's, what they wanted to do was transform the drive-through experience. So just take a moment and think of your own experience going through a drive-through for a minute. You wait in a long line of cars, potentially, you get to an order box, you start speaking what you want to order. Now, sometimes the person on the other end, at no fault of their own, doesn't hear what you ordered, right? There's a lot of ambient noise, there's cars honking, there's a lot of things going on, so they'll miss it. Sometimes you'll use terminology that they don't know, right? So if I say I want to order a JBC, which is a junior bacon cheeseburger, they may not know what that is, right? Sometimes you have questions about the ingredients, or you want to customize your order. There's a lot of complexity, actually, in the drive-through process. And what they wanted to do is to say, well, how do we make this a little more efficient? So they're piloting right now, so we're helping them pilot this in putting artificial intelligence in that ordering mechanism, so that when you go through one of these locations, you'd be engaging with an artificial intelligence system. It's going to sound like a person. They're going to take your order, and it's going to be able to do all those things like filtering out the background noise. It's going to be able to understand the strange terminology someone like me might be using. And it's going to be able to understand the customizations you'd like to have, and it'll know all the ingredients. It'll translate that information to the people inside who will focus on making the food. Right? This is an actual thing that's being piloted now. Another example is in the healthcare space with Johns Hopkins University and what they're doing when it comes to brain injuries. So if you think about strokes for a moment, strokes are a leading cause of death. And what they found is when someone has a stroke, you need to understand the extent of the damage to the brain, what the right treatment might be, and then how do you assess the effectiveness of the treatments that you're giving. What Johns Hopkins found was that typically it would take about 5 hours to extract that information from a brain scan. And then applying artificial intelligence to that problem, they brought that down to 30 seconds, right? Like, just think of the impact that has on saving lives and understanding how to treat people properly. This is an incredible use case there. And then lastly, I'll talk about manufacturing. One of the biggest challenges in manufacturing that you'd see today relates to the challenge of defects, right? These defects in the manufacturing process cost billions of dollars a year. And so to curb that, you have automotive companies like Renault, Ford Motor Company, even General Motors, are looking at solving that problem by saying, well, how do we use computer vision technologies in the manufacturing facility to catch defects as they happen and before it ever leaves the facility? And so what we're seeing now is things like defects in car parts, issues with paint finish, problems with sheet metal. You name it, they can detect these defects, remediate them on the spot before it ever hits the consumer. Right? That saves billions of dollars, and from a consumer perspective, that makes me happy, and I'm sure it would make many other people happy too, to not have to deal with that. And honestly, this is just a very small slice of how AI is transforming businesses and how they're using it. There's so many use cases. We speak to customers every day that they're looking to explore, and we don't know where it'll all go. I will say, though, that as we explore those use cases, it's important to be responsible about it and to look at this technology in a safe way, right? You've heard that there's possibility of ways that can go wrong. For Google, personally for us, what that means is that we've published our AI principles in 2018. They're on Google, you can look them up and find them. And that means that when we look at deploying AI and advising customers on how to use it, it's about making sure that, number one, it's socially beneficial in how it's being used. And it's, as much as possible, we're not creating or reinforcing bias. Right? This is a thing that we're very concerned about. It also means putting safeguards in place. So making sure that the technology can't be used to create deep fakes, to create false information, to make toxic content. These are things that we want to avoid and make sure that that doesn't happen. So you can see when it's done safely and responsibly, this technology can help businesses drive better experiences, drive down costs, and save lives. And the last thing I'll mention is, as a Canadian and many people in this room, what makes me proud is Canada is a pioneer in this space. Like, we really are, an AI perspective. Toronto has the highest concentration of AI startups in the world. Here, right? Yeah, exactly, right? Yeah. Montreal has the highest concentration of academic researchers in deep learning. Right? These are things, right? Yeah. These are things we should be proud about, and we should stand on the strengths of the country and what's happening here. And I think as businesses, as we look to adopt this technology, I think we're going to be able to compete even better on a global scale. Well, thank you.